Colin, what's happening, man?
Not much. What's going on, Ryan?
Well, hanging in there,
Hanging in there, hey?
doing my thing.
Good,
You know,
good.
it's been a busy little time there, and when you're seeing this, I'll be probably on my way back from Mexico.
Okay.
So
Rub it in, why don't you?
there's that. So this is like time travel. You're watching this, and I'm in Mexico.
It appears you are in dire need of a tan on that skin.
That's really bold of you to say.
Coming from me.
I can pretty much say that about you at any time of year.
That's right. Nothing wrong with being translucent.
I don't want to be discriminant or anything, but here we go. What's been happening in the city of Portage Prairie for the past week?
What has been happening? A lot of melting and a lot of freezing at night.
Well, and a lot of freezing during the day today.
Well, yes, today is a little chilly.
Man, it's a tough one for me. This is it's been a busy time, and you know what? I'm sure that by the time I'm telling you this, things will have ramped up tenfold because you know the rule, right?
When it rains, it
You want
pours.
to get busy in real estate, you go on vacation. So
Oh, yes.
take your laptop with you. You go down and you sneak away when your wife's not watching and you're doing stuff on your computer, just work, and get in trouble for it and stuff. But meanwhile, you're just actually doing work. So
That's right.
It is what it is.
That's good. And you got a pretty good guy to fall back on if you need to.
That's right. I got the team back here, and I'm going to have more exciting news by the time we record the next episode.
Ooh.
So I won't give away any spoilers, but by the time you see this one, I'll be ready to announce something in episode. Well, it'll be what? I can't even count, man. This will be episode 15. So episode 16, you're going to look for something
big news.
Interesting.
Perfect.
Yeah. As far as city stuff, though, I mean, it's been kind of a quiet week, I think.
Bit of a quiet week, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot on the go. By the time this airs, we will have had another council meeting.
Yes. And I unfortunately will be missing that council meeting, so I apologize.
It's okay.
In retrospect.
Once again, I got your back.
There you go.
Portfolio.
You got me. And but don't worry, we've already approved the noxious weeds inspectors. So that piece of business.
Everyone can turn the panic alarm down.
That's right. Yes. So that's taken care of. So we're good. In all seriousness, no, I mean, that's what that's why there's a whole bunch of us.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's right. And we are a fairly cohesive group. We have an exciting show because we have none other than Nathan Peto coming on. Now, we're going to be interviewing Nathan from the perspective of the former city manager of Portage Prairie and talking about his new role that he's going into a little bit and getting to know him a little better for the people that don't know him super well already. But I mean,
can we give him the gears?
Do you realize it's been 7 years that he's been here?
It's a long time.
I had no idea it was that long. Just maybe time just flies, but 7 years.
I was not around when he was first hired. And so the hiring of Nicole is my first transition from one city manager to another. So we will see how this goes. And I got to know Nathan quite well. And I think in a couple of minutes here when he pops on, I may throw some jabs at him.
Oh, fair warning. All right.
Yeah.
You take the lead on insulting the guy that's leaving.
All right. Good fun.
Colin, without further ado, let's get to it then.
Perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nathan Peto has joined us on the show. And I don't know how to introduce you, Nathan. Maybe we'll call you the former city manager of Portage La Prairie. But maybe we should ask you what your new role is, seeing how that's kind of where you're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the CEO for Southport Aerospace, so just south of Portage La Prairie, but an important economic regional partner. Formerly worked with Colin and Ryan as city manager for the city of Portage La Prairie, which was an honor serving with both these gentlemen, and happy to be on your show.
Well, we're happy to have you here, and I appreciate that you use my name and honor in the same sentence. I appreciate that.
Would I do any different?
No, that's true.
It's only polite, Colin. It's only
That's
polite.
right.
So the purpose of this show, Nathan, is we kind of are, it's kind of a get to know you piece. So can we dig into your history a little bit, maybe talk about, where you were born and grew up and how you ended up getting your way to Portage La Prairie?
Okay, well, a little bit of a long road, but I'll make it somewhat succinct. My family farmed in the Emerson region for over 100 years, 100-year farm. Eventually decided to pack up and we moved over to Brandon, Manitoba, where I essentially, spent most of my adolescence and grew up, went to high school there, and then actually went to university at Brandon University as well. So really loved growing up in Brandon. After university, I had the opportunity to work with the Brandon Chamber of Commerce as their executive director, or general manager, I should say, and really loved digging into the business community, how communities function. Got a chance to work with a lot of great board members and chamber presidents that taught me a lot about community building, but also a lot about the business community. One of those board members was the vice president, and he went and became the city manager, actually, city manager of the city of Portage La Prairie. And I had the opportunity to go over and work at the city of Brandon. And in there, I worked at sort of a middle manager capacity, but largely taking on large community projects, kind of breaking them off, running with them, and making sure we engage with council, engage with the community. Again, really like that community building component, tied in with a little bit of economic development. After 6 or 7 years with the city of Brandon, there was an opportunity to come to the city of Portage and become the next city manager. And Ryan should be familiar. He was on the hiring committee. So if you don't like that decision, you can reach out to him directly.
I think they're pretty at peace. That might be the most popular decision I've made since I was on council.
Okay, well, there you go. You know what? My wife and kids came to the city of Portage. We've loved it here. I spent 7 years in the role as city manager. Got to see what I thought was a pretty historic run for the community in terms of growth, development, and engagement. Got to work with a lot of great councilors, 2 different mayors, and have really just loved working and playing and just being in the community of Portage La Prairie. It's our home. Never thought that there was going to be an opportunity that would drag me away from the city, but something next door, and literally we still live in the city of Portage, but Southport is a huge economic driver in our region. For your listeners who aren't familiar, or your viewers, I should say, it's a former Royal Canadian Air Force training base that was closed down in the early 90s. The community really dug in and said, well, we're going to stay here. We're going to make this former base work. Purchased it for $1, created Southport, the organization, which is a nonprofit shareholder corporation, and essentially ran it to be economically successful with some key principles. Those key principles are making sure we get the best economic value for this, use it as an economic development region driver for the whole region, but also return a lot of those benefits to the community any way we can. And just continue to just leverage this asset for the whole region and Manitoba as a large. And last 30 years, they've been doing a really good job. Aircraft training came back to Southport. There's post-secondary education training. There's nurses. There's a recreational center. There's aircraft mechanic training. There's helicopter companies. I mean, it's a very diversified little community that has a huge amount going on from economic drivers, and will continue to grow into the future in a big way. So that's it in a nutshell, and that's a little bit of my history and how I am where I am today. Have been in the job, I guess, formally for just over a month, but have a fantastic team that I love working with here, and really excited about the future for Southport, but also as the whole Portage region.
Well, thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, that's our show.
I steal your questions?
No, that's great. That sums it up quite well. Like, I knew a fair bit about you. I've got to know you over the last few years. The 100-year farm in Emerson, that is news to me. So were your parents farmers as well?
Yeah, so my goes right from my great grandparents to my grandparents to my parents, and then eventually the farm economics of a smaller farm were just tougher for them, and they had to make some tough decisions. And really, a lot of respect for my parents. Really, kind of started all over again at 40, and with 3 kids, which to me sounds terrifying, and managed to make it work and provide a pretty good home and opportunities for us when we moved to Brandon.
I've met your sister. She's by far the coolest one in the family. And then you have another sibling, brother, sister?
I have another younger sister. Yes, she might disagree about who's the coolest in the family, but I won't get in between. My sister you have met is a 20-plus year firefighter with Brandon Fire Department. She is an acting lieutenant, and she's also president of the Western Canadian Firefighter Women's Association. And my other sister lives in Ottawa and works with the Canadian Space Agency. So they're both significantly cooler than me.
I agree.
Over the years, Nathan, like, you've been involved with a lot of different organizations. Can you touch on some of those, like locally and even beyond Portage?
Yeah, I love, as soon as I moved here, I got very involved with Rotary, serving as their president several years ago. Really impressed with the local Rotary organization. They are in on everything, and they are really kind of the gold standard of what a community organization can be in a community. I've served with my National Association for Municipal Administrators, which I just recently left because of I'm no longer a municipal administrator. Served with my provincial organization. Very passionate about rugby, and especially youth rugby. President and founder of the Portage Wolves Youth Rugby Club, and something I'm continuing to kind of mentor and grow, and really proud of the development that we've seen in the community. That's to name a few. I try to stay pretty active. I think definitely as a city manager, my opinion was you live in and work in the community, and you really need to show that you care about the community. So my wife and my kids and all of us have always really dug in to kind of give back to the community that's given so much to us.
I agree. That's important. And you've actually been a shining example of living and working in the community. I see you everywhere. You're always at various local events. I know you're very involved in the Portage Wolves rugby, and your picture's always on Portage Online for one thing or another, including the city. But no, I just think that's important for a city manager to be as involved as you were.
Well, that's very kind of you, Colin. I'm trying to rival Councillor Meyer by getting my picture at Portage Online that night.
Good luck.
Yeah. That's you're taking a shot at the title there.
Reach high.
So let's talk locally for a little bit. As far as what do you do in your spare time when you're not involved with all these organizations?
Well, like I said, 3 kids. I mean, I know you guys are dads too. It keeps you pretty busy. I've got a 16-year-old son, soon to be 16-year-old son, just recently turned 13-year-old son, and a 2-year-old daughter. So with that kind of age breakdown, it keeps you busy in a lot of different angles, everything from going to daycare and dropping off at daycare and different activities at that level to going to youth basketball games and dropping kids off at jobs. So it's a wide range. Got a really active family and love the mix that we have in terms of all the different activities and different people we get to engage with because of that age demographic split between our kids.
Okay, let me ask you this then. You and Tyne have a babysitter for the night. You're good. You're clear of all the kids. You're going to go out and you're going to have a meal somewhere in Portage. What's the spot you're going to?
Oh, that's a good question. We are a big fan of over the coals. We usually would do takeout, to be honest. That's our usual thing. We get some takeout from over the coals, but there's lots of great restaurants. But I think that would probably be our go-to.
That's a good choice.
I agree. So I have a question
Okay.
regarding. Do you want to touch a little bit on what's happening at Southport with the various partners, KF Aero? I know there's a lot of different companies that all mesh with one another, and there's big things happening at Southport.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a period of pause before a period of great growth. And that's not to say that there hasn't been tremendous economic activity here already. I mean, Colin, you mentioned KF Aero has had a long history of doing the flight training here with the Canadian Air Force. They've been a great community partner and a great partner here at Southport. But you can literally go down the list, and it's amazing how it's easy to forget how many stakeholders are just here on this small little campus here. I mean, Canadian base operators, Canadian Helicopter, Red River Community College, Southern Health, Shared Health, Assiniboine Community College, Manitoba First Nations Police Service, aircraft technologies, industries. I mean, the list goes on. And we all work here, and we all have different buildings. All of the property is owned by Southport. Most of the buildings are also owned by Southport. So we're largely a landlord in a lot of ways. But our job is essentially make sure we support them, support their success, and then can try and bring more partners to the table that can kind of be the tide that raises all those boats. So what's coming down the pipe? I mean, it's very public that there's a new era in flight training for the Canadian Air Force, and that's the future aircraft training program. And that's really the next step over the 3 to 5 years about redeveloping a large part of our infrastructure, building at least 5 significant buildings to take that program on for the newer standard, taking on brand new students, brand new services. I mean, it's going to be a period of change for Southport over the next 3 to 5 years in a way that we haven't seen, frankly. And I think that activity is going to generate tremendous amount of economic activity in the whole region, but it's also going to set us up for all of the additional space that we currently use. It is going to be transferred to that. Now we have all of these assets in which we can additionally leverage them for more economic activity. And I mean, you're only limited by your imagination in the logistics sphere or education and training sphere on what those assets could be used for.
Wow, that's exciting. Hey, is Southport a port of entry in Canada?
So that's something we've been seeking for some time. When you define port of entry, it means coming from an international location, able to clear through customs. So Southport does have an application with the Canadian Border Services Agency to be a registered airport of entry. Still working on that file. Something we think that would really add regionally to our economic capacity for the city of Portage, Arm of Portage, and anyone around us.
Absolutely.
I think of the possibilities just from that, and it's kind of exciting.
I mean, part of the real attraction of this job, not that I didn't enjoy working with both of you, was just the amount of possibilities, amount of activity that we know that's coming, but also all of the additional spin-off effects that will happen in this area, in this region that we can be part of and really sort of chart our own destiny in terms. I think sometimes people in Portage from the economy kind of feels like we're maybe sometimes a little more reactive than we would like to be into what happens. And this allows this economic organization to work with our partners to really chart our own course and just add to the local success.
Nice. And
so it sounds like you're going to be keeping yourself busy for the next few years.
Not to put you on the spot, because I know that you're brand new at this, but can Southport have, your traditional passenger jet, a 737 or a A320? Is Southport equipped for a plane like that to land?
I mean, that is technically a little out of my depth, but what I will tell you is that my familiarity with the airstrip is that we can take on a significant amount of capacity in terms of volume. And while I'm not familiar with the technical specs in terms of weight which could land or length for the runway, I would definitely not rule that out. In fact, I think I've seen some larger airplanes land on the strip. So I think there's a tremendous amount of capacity in the airfield that is untapped right now.
Excellent.
All right. Any other ones you want to go down that path with, Colin?
I do have two questions for you. The first one is, what is your greatest achievement that you have seen? No, I'm not talking you specifically, but what is the greatest achievement that you have seen in your 7 years as a city manager?
Well, I mean, you winning the B-side twice in a cornhole tournament was pretty astonishing because I've seen you play.
Oh my.
Really pumping tires today. What is the greatest thing that I've seen happen in the community over the last 7 years? I mean, that's a tough one because I think, and maybe I'm out of line by saying when I came to Portage, I felt like there was a lot of mentality that, I mean, people often talked about the former base at Southport closing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always heard about Campbell's Soups and Campbell's Soup closing, which was another factory here. Those two was kind of the 1-2 punch, and it just seemed like Portage hasn't really recovered. When I got here 7 years ago, probably my favorite accomplishment that I feel like I was part of in a small way with council and with a lot of drivers in the community is I feel like we've really sort of turned the corner on that mentality. I feel like people are very optimistic about Portage's future. And I feel people are really thinking Portage can continue to grow and become better and also kind of sing our own praises in terms of what we have and recognizing it. So if there's one, and I recognize it's a bit of a hard thing to dig in on, but I feel like the mentality, the vision, and the real energy behind Portage has changed over the last 7 years. And if I could say I'm a part of that in a little way, as I know you both are, I think that's probably something that I think I would be most proud of.
Great answer.
I didn't even get the questions in advance.
And my final question, and I'll turn it back to Ryan here. Can you tell me one thing that you, in your 30 days at Southport, that you've learned that really surprised you about the organization?
Ooh, I think probably in the first 30 days, I mean, you know, I'm fairly knowledgeable what's going on in the region. Was part of my job as the city manager. I don't think I really truly understood how much opportunity there is here at Southport to grow and contribute to the economic region in a really big way. I'm extremely excited about the opportunities here, and they're way more than I had even anticipated.
And that's exciting. I know that Southport is in the RM of Portage, but the RM is our closest regional partner, and that's exciting. And I just think that your knowledge of being city manager, what you take out there to Southport, I mean, just opens the door for lots of opportunity moving forward with all of our regional partners. Yeah,
I would agree with you completely, and really enjoy have a good relationship with the RM Council and the RMC CAO, and a lot of, I mean, there's countless stakeholders, and just knowing them, understanding where they come from, their goals, their plans, and where we can interconnect is something that I hope to bring. One area that I'm really excited to grow in is knowledge of the airfield operations. I mean, as the CEO, that's not my number one responsibility. I have lots of skilled and talented staff here that team members that want to engage in that field and are knowledgeable in that field. But I just want to know so I understand the business a little bit better. And I think I can grow a lot in that way.
Awesome.
All right. I'm going to ask you something here. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
So, someone's coming to Portage La Prairie, very first time. They say, what's the one thing we have to see or do? What do you tell them?
Like, I think the one thing that when I bring people to Portage La Prairie that haven't been here, or maybe have just passed by or haven't really engaged in the community, is I always like to drive along Crescent Road, especially in the summer, around the lake. I like to show them where the golf course is. I like to highlight Stride Place and Splash Island, drive through the park, which is picturesque. and just talk about how this is sort of a little bit the center of the community and something that I think everyone's very proud of. You have all those recreational assets right there. You have natural beauty, and you just have something that I don't think people really think about when they think about Portage. So I always make sure that's the first thing they see.
That's an interesting answer because I hear that often. We didn't know you had this here, is the comment that we hear all the time, because they stay on that main road and go right through and they see Saskatchewan Avenue, and that's it. And now Saskatchewan Avenue is beautiful, but they're missing out a lot of the other assets we have.
I think you're 100% correct there, Ryan. And yeah, you either drive through 1A or the Saskatchewan Avenue through the community, which has lots of great shops, lots of great restaurants that are great to engage in. Council has invested a very large amount of money in beautifying that corridor and improving that corridor, which is great. But still, it's hard to top Crescent Road Avenue as you go around the lake and looking over at the island and crossing the beautiful causeway and just engaging with that nature right in the center of the city.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to something a little more personal. What is something that people would be surprised to know about you?
Ooh.
He used to have hair.
At one time, yeah.
I believe it.
You know, when I started dating my wife, I was already pretty much bald, and she sees pictures of me when I had hair, and she's just like, "You look so weird." I was glad I didn't meet then.
Next time we see you, can you please bring one of those pictures with you?
Yeah, I'm sure you could Google something. What I would say, something that surprises. I mean, sometimes people are often surprised to hear that I did serve in the Canadian Forces, especially when I was in university. Served as a reserve artillery officer with 26th Field in Brandon. People often are surprised to hear that. I think people are surprised to hear that I was very busy with rugby, very active and competitive in rugby. One thing that often I do mention that people seem surprised about is that I was at one time a pretty competitive racquetball player and went to the World's Championships a couple times, and didn't place great, but still was active at that level.
Any one of those things would have been a great answer.
There you go.
I was thinking about another one.
Okay.
Like, don't you have awards for Toastmasters as well?
I do. I don't know if my skills in this interview are reflecting that, so there's one. I entered the humorous speaking competition for Toastmasters, which would be in our region, which is Northern Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and I won the humorous speaking competition. So there you go.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Well, let's go back to something down that path a little bit. I'm going to ask you a couple of fun ones.
Okay.
Best book you've ever read?
Ooh, the best book I've ever read. I read a lot of books that my wife tells me they're very boring.
Me too.
I really enjoy books that challenge you to think differently. I mean, there's several editions of Freakonomics. I don't know if you've ever read those books. There's lots of mini stories in there, taking a look at different things that you assume to be true, but challenge you to think about them differently. I've had a lot of motivation from a lot of different leadership books. I mean, Jim Collins, Good to Great. I read a lot of inspirational leadership type books that I think that maybe your average reader might find boring, but I just like to kind of re-challenge myself as a leader in an organization to try and think about how I can improve. So those are probably largely the books I read. I don't really read a lot of fiction. Yeah,
nor do I. How about movie? What's your favorite of all time?
There's one movie that my older son, I should clarify, have been watching, and it reminded me how much I like it, is either Fight Club, my older son, just to be clear. And then one movie I watched not too long ago that reminded me how much I like it was The Departed as well. So, I mean, those are a little bit darker, but I like those are good movies.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And I only have one more question for you, and it's a real easy one. what's the best piece of advice you have ever been given?
I have been given a lot of good advice over the years. Some I actually was smart enough to take. You know, something, and I'm trying to remember if this is a quote from a book or something someone said to me, but it's always something that I kind of always have going on in my head, is always continue learning. Something along the lines of, there's people that are always learning and there's people that are dead, and the people that are dead just have stopped learning. So you always go and grow and learn as a person. I think when you stop challenging yourself, you start just getting too comfortable and you start thinking a certain way, and I can't imagine anything more boring.
I love that.
I like that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Colin, you got anything else?
No, that's it. I really appreciate you coming on the show with us today. Sorry, I'm getting a delivery and the dogs are barking here.
Your dog made my dog bark. Did you hear
that? I appreciate you coming on the show, and in all honesty, it has been an absolute pleasure working with you over the last few years, and good luck with everything in the future. And I know we'll be seeing a lot of each other still, and thank you for everything you've done for our city.
Well, it's very kind of you, Colin. It's been a pleasure working with both of you as well. And the nice part about this job change is it's not goodbye, it's see you later and see you regular. And we're all still part of the same neighborhood. And I use the Portage region as a neighborhood, and I know we're all trying to move it forward in a positive way. So happy to know you guys as co-workers and friends, and look forward to continue working with you in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nathan. It's been a pleasure working with you all these years. But when I first met you in Brandon, you made an impression on me. And when I saw you were going for the job in Portage, I got excited about it. And it all worked out. And here we are 7 years later, and you're moving on to another career, but not moving on from Portage La Prairie. And I'm happy about that.
Very kind of you. I remember meeting you and Brandon as well. We were talking snow clearing bylaw, I think, right? No, we were talking Indigenous Council.
We were.
A sidebar chat about snow clearing. And I remember that's the biggest councilor I've ever seen.
Okay. I got to tell you one quick little story before we go. You guys know who C.T. Fletcher is? He's a guy from the States. He's a bit of a motivational speaker, and he swears a lot. But I met him a couple weeks ago, and he said to me, "You're as big as 3 or 4," and then a whole bunch of swear words. I thought that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said.
That's the nicest thing anyone said to you. Colin, be nicer to your work colleague, okay?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Take care.
Thank you.